Away from that, in Bangladesh now, there are ongoing tensions and criticism of the current government. With me is Anbarasan Ethirajan, BBC World Service South Asia regional editor. And Anbarasan, there are criticisms, aren't there, in particular, for example, from minorities such as Hindus and other groups about how the current administration is working.
Now, at the moment, there is an interim government is in charge in Bangladesh, headed by Nobel laureate Professor Muhammad Yunus. Now, after the ouster of Sheikh Hasina, they formed a council of advisors. They are from former military officers, human rights workers, and also representatives from Islamist political party. But after the huge turmoil, many of the police officers simply ran away, fearing for their lives, security. That led to a security vacuum. And that led to a lot of violent incidents in the first few months after this interim government took over. And that is when what you're talking about, the attacks on minorities, the Hindu communities happen. Bangladesh is a Muslim majority country. About 8 to 9% of Hindus live in that country. And also a lot of incidents of mugging, theft, and lynchings happened in the first few months. But gradually, the law and order was restored after the army intervened, and then the police officers started coming back, and then many of the police stations were unmanned for a while because there was no vehicle to patrol, all those things. But most important thing is how the rule of law was established. For example, in December, the former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, when she addressed her party members on a social media platform sitting from India, that triggered anger among the student leaders who called for a mass rally. And a mob went and damaged their ancestral house, the Sheikh Mujib Rahman's house, the founding leader of, and it was set on fire. I was in Bangladesh a couple of months ago to see that. It was a museum before. It was part of the independence struggle. But the criticism was the government did not do enough to prevent this kind of revenge attacks when the mobs were going and damaging all these properties and targeting the Awami League people, supporters, because the Awami League now says dozens of the supporters were being lynched. In fact, the Human Rights Watch issued a statement in May saying that the interim government's arbitrary targeting of former ruling party supporters fails accountability. So people are now criticizing that kind of reverse thing is happening. But what the government rejects all these accusations, say, the country went through a very difficult period. Now we are gradually getting back to normal, and now we are looking forward to hold the elections early next year.
And in those elections, do we know whether the Awami League is going to be able to stand? And why is Muhammad Yunus allowing so much influence by the Islamist groups?
Now, the current government, the interim government, has temporarily banned the party of former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, the Awami League, under the Prevention of Terrorism Act, using terrorism laws. Now, their argument has been because, as you saw in the documentary, the previous government was involved in alleged crimes against humanity and various other atrocities. So until the trial is over, because there is already various trials are going on against Ms. Hasina and several of the Awami League leaders, so their party has been suspended and the Election Commission has already withdrawn the registration. Now, this has again triggered international criticism. For example, The Economist, the UK-based magazine, the top line says, banning the opposition is no way to revive Bangladesh's democracy. Even many of the Bangladeshi newspapers and media were talking about the outright banning of Awami League is not a good idea, but you can have a trial and then reach a conclusion. And that has been the opinion of human rights activists.
Anbarasan Ethirajan, thank you very much indeed. Just to let you know,